Have you ever wondered why bad things happen to good people? Why do we face struggles and pain even when we try to live right? The Bible tells us that these trials are not punishments, but opportunities to grow. God, like a loving father, disciplines his children to help them mature and become more like him. This discipline can come in many forms. It could be a personal struggle, a financial setback, or even a crisis of faith. Whatever form it takes, God uses these moments to draw us closer to him. He wants us to learn from our mistakes, to trust in his strength, and to grow in our faith. This concept of God's discipline may seem harsh at first. Naturally, we want to avoid pain and hardship. However, the Bible teaches us that God's discipline is a sign of his love. It shows that he cares enough about us to guide us into becoming the best versions of ourselves. The book of Hebrews offers a powerful perspective on God's discipline. Hebrews chapter 12, verses 4 through 7 reminds us that God disciplines those he loves. Just as a father disciplines a son he loves, God corrects us and guides us towards righteousness. This passage tells us to endure hardship as discipline. This doesn't mean we should seek out suffering. Rather, it means we should view our trials through the lens of faith. When we face challenges, we can trust that God is using them for our good. The writer of Hebrews compares God's discipline to a father's training. No child enjoys being disciplined in the moment. However, we understand that a father's discipline comes from a place of love. It's meant to correct and guide, not to punish. In the same way, God's discipline is not a sign of his anger. It's a demonstration of his love, his desire for us to grow in holiness and maturity. The Gospel of Mark gives us a poignant example of how human disbelief can hinder God's work. In Mark chapter 6, verses 1 through 6, Jesus returns to his hometown, Nazareth. He begins to teach in the synagogue, amazing those present with his wisdom. However, the people's amazement quickly turns to disbelief. They stumble over the fact that Jesus, a man they knew as a carpenter, could possess such authority and wisdom. "Isn't this the carpenter?" they ask, with skepticism in their words. Their familiarity with Jesus, their knowledge of his ordinary upbringing, becomes a stumbling block. They refuse to see him as anything more than the person they think they know. As a result, Jesus is unable to perform many miracles in Nazareth. This story reminds us that our preconceived notions and our doubts can prevent us from experiencing the fullness of God's power. When we allow skepticism and unbelief to take root, we limit God's ability to work in our lives. The Christian faith is full of paradoxes and mysteries. We are asked to believe in a God who is both all-powerful and deeply personal. We are called to love our enemies, to forgive those who have wronged us. These are not easy concepts. They challenge our understanding and require a leap of faith. This is the scandal of faith. It doesn't always make sense to our human minds. It requires us to go beyond logic and reason to embrace truths that seem impossible. Yet, it is in this surrender, in this willingness to believe the unbelievable, that we truly encounter God's transforming power. We cannot simply compartmentalize our faith. It must permeate every aspect of our lives. It's about trusting in God's goodness, even when we don't understand his ways. Section 5. Overcoming doubt, steps towards stronger belief. Doubt is a natural part of the human experience. It's okay to question, to wrestle with difficult concepts. Faith doesn't require us to suppress our doubts. In fact, it is often through grappling with doubt that our faith becomes stronger. One way to overcome doubt is to immerse ourselves in the scriptures. The Bible is more than just a book. It is a living word that speaks to our hearts and minds. Through reading, studying, and meditating on scripture, we can deepen our understanding of God and his character. Another important step is to find a community of believers to support us on our faith journey. Surrounding ourselves with other Christians allows us to share our doubts and questions in a safe and supportive environment. Prayer is also essential. When we bring our doubts and fears to God in prayer, we open ourselves to his guidance and wisdom. He may not always give us the answers we seek, but he will give us the strength and peace we need to persevere. Section 6. Living the faith, putting belief into action. True faith is not passive. It's not something we simply believe in our minds. It's something we live out in our daily lives. James chapter 2, verse 17 tells us that faith without works is dead. This means our beliefs should be evident in how we treat others, in the decisions we make, and in how we respond to challenges. If we say we believe in God's love, but harbor hatred and bitterness in our hearts, our actions contradict our beliefs. Living out our faith involves acts of service, compassion, and forgiveness. It means standing up for what is right, even when it's difficult. It means extending grace to others, just as God has extended His grace to us. Faith is not a guarantee of an easy life. In fact, choosing to follow Christ can lead to persecution and hardship. However, it also leads to a life of purpose, meaning, and unwavering hope. Section 7. Recognizing God's hand, seeing discipline in our lives. It can be difficult to discern when a difficult situation is simply a part of life or a form of discipline from God. Not every hardship is a direct result of our actions or a specific lesson God is trying to teach us. However, we can look for patterns in our lives. Are there recurring mistakes we make? Are there areas where we constantly struggle? These could be areas where God is trying to get our attention. He might be prompting us to grow, to surrender our will to His, and to trust in His strength. It's also important to remember that God's discipline is always for our good. It is not intended to punish or condemn us. Hebrews chapter 12 verse 11 tells us that no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. When we approach our trials with this perspective, we can begin to see them not as obstacles, but as opportunities for growth and transformation. Section 8. Conclusion. A journey of faith and growth. The Christian life is not a destination, but a journey. A journey marked by both mountaintop experiences and valleys of hardship. There will be times when our faith is strong and unwavering, and times when we are plagued by doubt and uncertainty. Through it all, God remains faithful. He never leaves us or forsakes us. He walks with us through every trial, offering us His comfort, guidance, and strength. He uses our experiences, both positive and negative, to mold us into the people He created us to be. As we continue on this journey of faith, let us embrace the gift of God's discipline. Let us learn from our mistakes, grow in our understanding of His character, and strive to live lives that reflect His love and grace. Section 9. Questions for reflection. What are some areas of your life where you might be facing God's discipline? How can you view these challenges as opportunities for growth rather than punishments? What steps can you take to overcome doubt and strengthen your faith? How can you put your faith into action in your daily life? How have you experienced God's faithfulness in the midst of trials in the past?